Welcome to Hate to Wait, where two lifelong dieters talk about their current struggles with weight loss. Diets, we've tried them all. We are not doctors. We don't play them on TV or on this podcast. Join our journey because we're all in this together.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, John.
You know, our fantastic Facebook group, our waiters, later waiters.
They definitely are waiters. Thank you for waiting for us to get back to recording.
Yes. And Michael, in our group, put up a poll on which audio clip or jingle is the best jingle. And this one won.
So there you are, Tubby.
Going away.
Yeah, everyone loves so there you are, Tubby.
So there you are, Tubby.
The way in jingle came in second. I think you voted for that. Wait a minute. Yeah. Did you also? You can't vote more than one. I love them all. You can't vote for all of them, but yes, you can.
I can too. They are all qualified contestants for best jingle.
Yeah, you know what? I got to give an honor. One of my favorite ones, which wasn't even nominated, was.
I'm not even sorry. I know. I think that's my favorite because I say it all the time.
Right. I think that was my favorite out of all of them. I was even thinking because it said, you know, if you want to, there was a spot where you could add an option.
You could
I was
add
going to put and I was like, well, no, this is Michael's thing, so let's roll with it. So I love it. And then when voting was, pretty good amount of voting.
I know.
The other one that didn't make it was
Stop it.
And then the weigh-in jingle, which our friend Jason Bryant, who he made that for us, and he voted for that. He goes, well, I kind of have a little thing in my heart.
Jason did an awesome job with it.
Absolutely, love
We've
that.
been using it for 101 episodes now. Thank you, Jason.
Yes, we are. I wish we have. We have. So, how was your week?
My 2 weeks. It's weird because there are like two different parts to this story because it was like last week was just terrible. Just terrible. We skipped recording last week because Mark had hurt his back the day before recording. And I realized that morning that he wouldn't be able to watch our son while I was recording. So we decided to cancel. But also, I had a very anxious week with my mom. My mom, for those who don't know, she is bipolar. And in the spring, she's gotten worse as she's gotten older. And in the spring, every year, she has a very, very terrible manic episode, what we call it. And this is weeks of her really not being able to sleep, worrying about lots of things, being very incoherent. She's learned how to text. So I get just blocks of texts, and they all start with Dear Emily. And none of the sentences go together or make any kind of sense. She used to send letters that were like this, and her handwriting was so bad that it would make me more anxious. But anyway, my mom is a huge trigger for my own anxiety. And I had, after dealing with her and then talking to my aunt, who also is, dealing with my mom, and she's kind of in a panic about stuff. Dealing with both of those, I had a weekend of just anxiety attacks. Like, it just,
That's right. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, and if you're watching the video, you can kind of see I have coverings on my hands. They're kind of the same color as my skin, but they're actually covering hives. I got stress hives. I've gotten stress hives before, not covering my whole arms, but I've gotten patches of stress hives when I get anxious. I didn't even realize that it was really like stress related. I just thought I got hives just randomly. And then I realized with this anxiety attack, I was like ripping my arms to shreds, and not even realizing I was scratching it so much. And it got so bad, it went all over. So I found these. They're fingerless gloves. They go up to about my elbow. I can stretch them higher if I want.
I can't, I didn't even notice them. You can't notice them from here.
Yeah, these are skin, like.
Oh, now I see them. Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, when I hold them up, you can see them. They're basically like those sleeves that you see people running where their thumbs can stick out, but the sleeve actually goes down over the knuckles, because I got this because the hives went up onto my hands. And you can kind of see, there are some like open spots that are still healing right now. But so that was new. But actually these sleeves, I gotta say, these might be my favorite thing. First of all, they dry really quickly. They wick the sweat. They're cooling. So like you put them on in the summer, they're not warm. They're kind of cooling because they wick the sweat really quickly, and they're SPF 50. So like I kind of discovered these great little sleeves that I could wear with tank tops. And if anybody knows, I kind of look like Avril Lavigne when I wear the ones with the colors on them, or Jeff Hardy. So if anyone knows WWE from the 2000s, I definitely have the Jeff Hardy vibe going on right now. Let me do his little thing.
I don't know what you're talking. I'm not a wrestling
fan.
fan.
You don't know what I'm talking about,
That's
but I'm
okay,
doing this
though.
little signal, and this is only because I worked at WWE that I was like so into knowing
that's right.
who
You did, yes.
2000 wrestlers were. I'm sorry, not wrestlers, superstars. I worked at WWE. We cannot call them wrestlers. We had to call them superstars.
Right, because they don't really wrestle. It's
No,
for
it's sports
years.
entertainment. And it's not because like what they were doing is not wrestling. It's because the insurance is cheaper if they say it's sports entertainment instead of a sport. So they don't call it wrestling. They call it like WWE. Or no, they call it wrestling, but they don't classify it as a sport. They classify it as sports entertainment because of the insurance.
Okay.
Which is weird because it's like there's pyro.
Yeah, I thought it was weird for the simple fact that it's all, fake and pre-made up and stuff like that. Although, they still do very, very, what I would call dangerous stunts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, those people are physically fit.
Sure.
They are trained to take falls. Like, that's the interesting thing about it is as much as it's quote unquote choreographed to an extent, these people still need to know how to take a fall. If you take a fall the wrong way, like you are seriously injured.
Oh, I see stuff now that they do, and I'm like, how do they even walk away with that from that? It's crazy. So you're on the mend.
Yeah, I'm on the mend. The anxiety is going down. That was really nice. I got more into, you know what? I don't give my husband enough props on this show. Like the few times I talk about him, it's usually the tiny complaints. And really 99% of the time, he's the greatest husband ever, because when I have anxiety or when it comes to my mom, he is just right there. He's like, do you need to lay down? Do you need me to take the phone? Okay. What do you need? Can I make you some tea? Can I bring you a cat? Like, yes, these are all things.
Can I bring you a cat?
Because he does. He'll bring my cat, stick him on the bed. My cat just plops there, and my cat too. He's good. He's a good cat.
Yep. Well, so that's good. Did you use any kind of medication to try to get rid of these hives, or?
I was using Benadryl. Like, we have Benadryl gel, which I was really happy to have in the closet. It was just one of those things that was in the back of the closet. We had Benadryl gel, so I was able to put it on every so often. And then allergy pills, I would take like a regular antihistamine, a Claritin, to get through the day from scratching. But I didn't take like
anything for anxiety?
No, because the interesting thing, like for me, I'm still learning my anxiety cues, which is a weird way. Which is a weird thing to say. I'm still learning when I get anxious, I don't notice it until I'm in a full-blown attack sometimes. And I would love it, and I'm getting better at it, if I can just identify when first of all, because the first thing that tips me off is I forget to breathe. That's a big thing for my anxiety, is when I'm anxious, when I'm scared, I hold my breath. Like, I'm so afraid to let my breath go, and that ends up triggering my nervous system, that ends up triggering the anxiety. I'm not getting enough oxygen to my brain, so my brain's freaking out anyway, even though for me, physically holding my breath is a weird way of keeping myself safe, or, I don't know, not moving or something like that, but it's actually making my anxiety worse. So I'm really working on getting mindful about breathing, concentrating on my breathing. I've kind of thrown myself into a lot more wellness and mindfulness stuff lately. I even started, I think you saw this, I started another Instagram account because I don't need any more, but I did. And this one is all wellness. So this is all yoga, meditation, some intermittent fasting stuff, some breathing exercises, definitely a little woo. I've talked about woo on the show before, where I get into the moon cycles and I talk about that. And so I have an Instagram just for that. It's called A Place to Practice, because all these things are things I practice. I practice yoga, I practice mindfulness, I practice journaling. These are all practices. And so I have a place to practice. And also I wanted to get it not get it fully off of my professional Instagram that I used for like podcasting stuff, but it wasn't really relevant. And I always wanted to post it. And I'm like, nobody cares about this stuff. So I have a place for it.
Yeah, it's weird that, because I'm the same way. There's many facets of what I am into and what I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And they don't jive. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's what I need. I need to compartmentalize all the little. I wonder if this is ADHD. Like, we're multi-potentialites is what they call it.
I also think that the people that follow us for weight loss don't really care about podcasting. And then
right. Yeah, that's another thing. So if you don't want to follow me on Instagram for podcasting stuff, because that's really what I talk about the most, go follow A Place to Practice. And that's where all the mindfulness stuff is. Like, more stuff from this show is probably over on A Place to Practice on Instagram than my personal account.
And the other thing for me is social media, with everything that's going on in 2020, had me all angst up. I was having the same problems.
Well, that was the other thing, is like everything is going on too. It's not just my mom this year. I can't just blame her. Like, Mom, you did this to me. It's like, wait, we're still in a pandemic.
Yeah. There was a couple times when, where I live right across from a police station, and they're having a protest that's not that far away. And I'm thinking, well, if these nitwits just want to just walk down to the police station and start throwing rocks at the police station, or then usually the things around where they go, they burn them to the ground. So there was a couple times, in a week or two, that I had to bug out of the house for a couple hours until this, because I'm not going to defend the house. I mean, it's, if they're going to burn my house down, they're going to burn my house down.
You're not the enemy right now in this situation. Hopefully they wouldn't, but.
Thankfully, nobody burnt the house down. But, when you see these notifications and you're like, do I risk it? So now, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else for a little while. And then sneak back into the house and see what's going on. So, yeah, I had the same problem with anxiety. And I cannot not talk about it. I cannot not give my opinion. Or, when I see somebody give their opinion and I can't stand the fact that I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. I have to go in there and tell them about it. I have to go in and insert my opinion into everything.
You know what? I wonder how much of my anxiety is because I squash that.
I can't seem to squash it. Like, sometimes
yeah. You get to let it out. I internalize it, and I wonder, which is worse sometimes.
I don't know. I don't think either is good. And I'll tell you why. Because, if I try to resist the urge, I'll sit there and I'll say it the first time and I'll go, you get the wrinkled nose and you're like, your eyebrows, and you're sitting there and you're like, You know what? No, I'm not going to do it. So then you're doing something later and you go by it again and you're like,
See, no, that's when I sign off. If I see the same thing again and it's something that triggered me, I'm like, oh, I've been on social media too long because it's showing me reruns of the same 13 people. And I'm like, why these people? I'm not even I don't even talk to them. It's so weird.
Yeah, I think it's because you have to go in because of the algorithm. The algorithm.
I'm pretty good about working the algorithm in a lot, on a lot of Facebook, but every so often Facebook will be like, hey, this person who friended you from a group you were in 3 years ago that you're no longer a part of, well, let me show you their status about their kid. And it's like, well, fuck, I saw it. I guess I should like it because it's a kid, but I don't know who this person is.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, I hear you. And then by the third time I go by and I'm like, that's it. I'm going in, and I go and I'm typing away. And
see, I think the algorithm gets you. The algorithm is meant for people like you who's just like, I can't let it go.
Yes. So then I go in and I'm and I say something and they say something back. And then what happens is you get into fights, you get into fights with people you don't know in your friends' comments, which I really, really don't like to do.
No, that always makes me so sad that I'm just like, oh, your friends are idiots. Come on.
My friends are fighting. So yeah, I was having the same kind of week. And I think things are starting to calm down now. Am I wrong? I stopped watching the news.
Well, New Jersey, actually, you'll be happy to know, they're now putting out pictures with each state a different color depending on cases going up or down. New Jersey, by the way, is very, very dark green, meaning their cases are going down day by day very quickly, actually.
Yeah, the testing site near me is shutting down.
Yeah.
They're shutting it down because they're sitting there all day and nobody's coming in. And, hopefully, and now they're saying, you know what? If you come into New Jersey from a hot state, you have to quarantine for 14 days. And I'm like, that's a great idea. How are you going to enforce that?
Doing something similar, yeah.
Yeah. It's New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. It's all doing the same thing. And I'm like, that's a great idea. Now, how are you going to enforce it?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So what else was going on?
That was the majority of the last 2 weeks for me. That's the thing that sticks out the most. And it's always interesting. When we record every week, it feels like I have so much to choose from to talk about. But then when we go for 2 weeks, I'm like, that stuff wasn't as big as it seemed when it was happening. Thanks, anxiety. But also, it's kind of nice to get some time and distance away from that stuff to put it in perspective, to be like, oh no, that was my mom. That was my aunt. They're the crazy ones. When I look over the text messages from my mom, like, I was blaming myself for having anxiety, but then I look over the text from my mom and I'm like, anybody would get anxiety. This is like, no.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you handle, I know you said the cream, but did you do anything okay, so this is my question.
Yeah, I'm like, where are you going with this? I didn't take medication or anything.
I was wondering if any of your voices came back.
Oh, no. Okay, this was really interesting. I did eat a lot of bread, but in my window. Bread was my vice. We got this really good, it's like Arnold's Country Bread. It was at BJ's, which is a big box store in our area. It's similar to Costco. And it's so good. It's 120 calories per slice, but it's like the most delicious artisan bread. And I just went for bread. I would just wander into the kitchen, look at all the food, be like, nothing looks good, but I need something to nut. And I went for bread. And so there was one day where it was like 4 slices, and I'm like, nope, that's bad. That's not great. Like it's fine. I can eat in my window because I do intermittent fasting, but I'm in maintenance mode right now. So as long as I stay in my 6 hours, it seriously doesn't affect me, John. Like, good. I got on the scale. It's the exact, and we talk about our weigh-in at the end of the show usually, but I'll tell you, in maintenance mode, I got on the scale today. So I had 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers from Wendy's. And I'm thinking, oh God, the salt in that. I haven't had fast food in a really long time, but it was just, I was in line getting chicken for my son. And I was like, those look really good. I haven't had a junior bacon cheeseburger in a while. And nothing, the scale didn't move. It's like 178.0. Like it's been that way for a month. I wonder if my scale's broken now that I'm thinking about it. But I have gotten on and it's been different. Like, because we talked about a few episodes ago, usually we get on the scale on Mondays and we record on Thursdays usually. So for me, Mondays is kind of a nice way for me to kind of take stock halfway through in between recordings to be like, okay, my check-in day where I get to check in and talk about what I've done is Thursday. It's Monday now. I know what I did this weekend. It's like a nice way to refocus, like a nice little quick refocus is to get on that scale, look at it and be like, all right, why is this happening? What did I do? What can I change?
Yeah, I did this, I'm kind of doing the same thing. One thing that I was kind of thankful for was with the anxiety and panic attacks. That's what I get panic attacks where I'm just sweating and doing stupid stuff.
I had one panic attack Tuesday when I finally could not handle like an email from my aunt, and I got one panic attack, and it was like I knew I was going into it, and I was like, "Is this an anxiety?" Nope, this is full-blown panic. I'm just going to go lay down. Like, I honestly I just lay down and let it happen.
Yeah, for me, a panic attack is when I can feel my heartbeat in my ears. Mm-hmm. Like, I can feel my heartbeat in my ears, and it's weird. My vision seems to be more tunneled, and I sweat, and I try to do the breathing. And sometimes I can't breathe my way out of these things. I just sit there and try to, it's almost like meditation in a way.
I know, I can't do counted breathing as much. I really just have to tell myself, okay, breathe in, now let it out. Like, I have to be so simple with it and so gentle with myself, just so that my only goal at that point is don't hold your breath. Whatever you do, like, my natural instinct is to just hold my breath.
I don't know why that, well, I understand. It seems like it's a way, if it's what it's like? You're bracing yourself for something.
Yeah,
bracing
it's a fight or flight response. Your body is just in fight or flight. It's ready to go. And if it doesn't actually have anything to fight or flee from, it just doesn't know what to do with itself.
Yeah, and for me, this week, over the past 2 weeks, I'm happy that I didn't binge, which is really unusual for me. Like normally I would order a pizza or go somewhere and just, buy a lot of food and binge. I didn't do that for these past 2 weeks, which to me, it seems, and I'm praying, again, I think when you're a binge eater, you're always a binge eater. You're either in recovery or you're not in recovery. Either you're binging or you're not in recovery. So I think right now.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you have to tell yourself, do not binge. Like you can't just shut it off.
There was a couple of times where I said, I really want to go get something. And my trick for that is, okay, if you feel this way in an hour, we'll go eat. Mm-hmm. And then I would start doing something and, the hour would go by and I was like, hey, what? I didn't feel like eating. I'm not.
Yeah, my big thing is taking chugs of water, is just trying to chug my water.
Yeah, that's another thing I've been doing is trying to make sure that because I do not drink enough water. There's sometimes where I might drink maybe a pint of water in a day, 16 ounces, or whatever they do in Canada and over in England. They use milliliters. I don't know what that is. Liter
don't they
is
say
a
pint
no.
in Europe?
A pint is a beer.
So wait, it's not a unit of measurement. It always means beer if you say pint.
I think so. We need to. Annette, we'll have to have Annette find
Annette.
it.
Let us know. Annette's in our chat. She's our go-to for.
Yes.
Tell us about the other side of the pond.
But Samantha, she was talking about liters, and I'm like, well, how much is a liter? And I think a liter is a quart. I forget how many ounces it is. But we use milliliters and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I only drink like 16 ounces. So what I do now is I just make sure that I have the water, and I'm like, okay, there's the water. You have to get through that by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working. I don't know what it's doing as far as my weight loss. I'm not 100% sure.
Water's always good. And plus you're taking the whooshy pill, right? And
yes. Yeah, right.
We know John's whooshy pill that helps him not retain it.
The leaking has stopped now, so I don't have to wrap my legs anymore. But it's really weird. I'm still wrapping them so they don't swell. There's these things on the internet now, and I'm going to mention them, but I don't know where to get the link for it because they'll come in passing. And when I do find the link, I'll give it to you. We can put it in another set of show notes. But they're zip-up compression socks.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. So because when you first of all, if you're a big person, it's hard to get your regular socks on. So now you got to get these things that are so much harder to get on. You got to roll them
tight.
Yeah, you got to roll them up your leg, and so these things you kind of pull them on your feet, and then you just kind of zip them up your leg. I'm thinking about getting them. They come all the way up to your knee. Mm-hmm. They're expensive. They're like $60 for a pair.
Wow, and oh man.
Right, so you're going to end up buying like 2 pair.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless you're washing them every single day.
Exactly. And they're saying I don't think you wash. I think they're like pantyhose. And again, I don't know. I've never wore pantyhose, but don't you just rinse them out and hang them over the bar in the shower?
Pretty much.
Yeah, you don't put them in a wash machine, right?
I used to because pantyhose were like $2.
Oh.
And I never wore them, so I would just throw them in the laundry with everything else. And then if I needed a new pair, like, oh, this one has a run in it.
Yeah.
Usually if I dress up, I give myself extra time to run to CVS for the pantyhose I know I don't have in my drawer or that's runned. Like,
that's
runned? I don't know if that's the password.
Ran?
Pantyhose that has run.
Has a run.
I think it's Rin.
Rin?
I don't know. I have no idea.
And my eating seems to be okay. I'm not, I still do a little, I don't go out as much for food.
Are you dude cooking still?
A little bit. I'm trying to stay away from the pasta and bread. I'm trying to stay more keto, low carb. Because I do notice that when I eat pasta or pizza or anything bready, that I seem to swell up. I seem to get a lot more inflammation.
Oh, for me, I just get in such a dumpy mood when I eat a lot. Like I ate a lot of bread that one day and it felt really good at the time. And then an hour later, I'm just sitting there just so mad and so like just have a grumpy look on my face because now my stomach is full. It feels like a brick and all I had was bread. So I've also been going to my smoothie place a little more often than I have because they're a drive-through and they've done I mean, they have the screen up, they have the gloves, they have the masks and everything. So I've been getting my smoothies because I know I'm not getting enough vegetables. And around this time every year, it's like, oh, it's nice out. Vegetables are in season. Oh, yeah, these are things I want, fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, the Jersey tomatoes aren't in yet. They should usually be in like this week. They're usually here. And I'm very upset about that.
Well, our big fun today, by the way, I brought the big fun, so we have a game for today, involves fruit. So
okay. Father's Day, I did binge eat Father's Day because my daughter made lasagna rolls, which is just lasagna made in a roll.
Yeah.
And she makes it just like my mom used to make it. No one else that I've ever met. My girlfriends used to try to duplicate my mom's lasagna, never could. My daughter, Christina, can make the lasagna just like my mom. And then my ex-wife would get in there and start telling. I said, shh, you stay away from her. You don't know how to make this like she knows how to make this.
She has it in her DNA. Don't touch it.
She wants to roll my lasagna rolls. So we had lasagna, and it was the same thing. I came home. We did it. My daughter got a new job. She started working on Sunday. So she said, can we do it on Saturday? So after Saturday, I came home. I haven't been that full and that uncomfortable from being full. And I can't remember how long. I was like, oh, it was horrible. The whole night, it was terrible. I must have eaten half a box of Tums. But it was worth it. Definitely worth it.
Not even sorry.
I'm not even sorry. Absolutely. Where is that? Here?
I'm not even sorry.
Yes, I'm not even sorry. I want to get into this game now.
Okay.
All
right. So we have big fun. For those who don't know, in the last episode 100, I decided that our show needed something else. We needed a little something extra. So I decided to bring what I call big fun. So these are games and maybe trivia. I'll bring something fun for us to play every week. If anybody in the chat, by the way, wants to come in for big fun and play, I bet we could make that work at some point. So I don't know. We'll figure that out, maybe. But so we're going to talk about fruit today. I'm going to give you a little fruit quiz. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. This is a bunch of trivia about fruit, too. So, which came first, the color orange or the fruit orange?
I'm going with the fruit.
You're right. The color was actually named after the fruit. It was originally referred to, orange the color, was originally referred to as geoloride or naranj. And they realized, looking at the fruit, that they didn't have an actual name for it, so they just named the color orange after the fruit.
It's one of my favorite jokes that I tell the kids.
Oh, yeah?
It says the teacher comes in the class and says, okay, class, I want you to line up in the middle of the room. And if I yell out a color, I want you to run to one side of the room. And if I yell out a fruit, I want you to run to the other side. So first she says banana, and they all run to where the fruit side is. Then she goes red, and they all run to the other side. And then they come back into the center, and then they go orange. And the kids go, it's a fruit and a color. So anyhow, that's my favorite joke.
I like that.
Tell a kid. Yes.
All right. The next question. The scientific name for this fruit is Lycopersian lycopersicum, which is wolf peach. Hint, it has red and green varieties and some yellow. But this is a fruit, and its scientific name means wolf peach.
Is it a kiwi?
It is not. Do you want another hint?
Yeah, give me another hint.
In Italian, it's known as pomodoro.
A pomegranate?
No.
All right. Joanne says apple.
It's not an apple.
Not an apple. And it says peach.
Wolf
and it's
peach.
Green.
The scientific name for this fruit is Lycopersian lycopersicum, wolf peach.
And
it comes in red and green varieties, some yellow.
Yes,
and the Italian word for it is pomodoro.
So
if anyone knows the Pomodoro Technique, which is set a timer for 25 minutes and then work for those 25 minutes, then take a break for 5 minutes and go back and set the timer for 25. That's Pomodoro. And it's named after a kitchen timer.
It's a tomato.
Yes. Yes.
That's because I didn't think of a tomato as a fruit. I think tomato is a vegetable.
I know. I threw that in to throw everybody off a little bit.
So you know why I know that? Because on my computer I have a timer, and it's called the
Pomodoro Technique.
Pomodoro timer.
Yeah.
And the thing for it is a tomato.
Yep. Because
that's
it's
how I
based
knew
on
it.
the kitchen timer that was shaped like a tomato, so they call it the Pomodoro Technique.
Wow, how funny is that?
Yeah.
And it was a wolf peach, huh?
Wolf peach. Yep.
How about that?
All right, the next one. There is a food reserve of this popular dried fruit. Farmers send a portion of what they grow to a committee every year so that they have a reserve of this dried fruit. You can either name the dried fruit or the fruit it comes from.
I think Stephanie in the chat already answered this, and because that's the first thing I thought. I'm going to give her answer in the chat here. Is it a fig?
She says fig. That is not correct.
It's not correct. It's a dry fruit that's not a fig. I'm not a big dried fruit guy.
Yeah, but they have a committee reserved, and every year farmers of this particular fruit and dried fruit send a portion of that to this committee so that they have a reserve on hand because it's dried fruit. So if anything should happen to our food supply at some point, we have a reserve of this dried fruit.
It's not raisins, right?
It is raisins.
It is raisins.
Yeah, it's raisins.
How about that? Just for some reason, I was like, why do we need a supply of raisins? Who?
I know. It's like, okay, guys, we don't have any fruit, but we have all these raisins. And I would sit there and look at the government and be like, I'd rather starve. Fuck you.
Yeah. Well, you got any bran flakes and, may I say, milk?
Raisins are fine. They're okay when you're in the mood for that. Golden raisins are just gross. I've never liked golden raisins in anything. But regular raisins aren't terrible.
But the sugar content in a raisin is ridiculous how much sugar's in that.
Well, if we're in an emergency state where we need to rely on our reserve of raisins, I think we'll be. I don't think the sugar content that's the least of our problems.
Right. Well, do they?
There's too much sugar in these raisins, Karen. We're in a drought. We have nothing else but raisins. Shut your mouth.
So do they cycle these out, or is there somewhere where there's like 100-year-old raisins?
Well, let's just hope we never get to the bottom of the pile, because we know the bottom of the box of raisins is just a sticky, icky mess. And it's like one big glob of raisins, so I can only imagine the bottom of this reserve is just one big giant raisin glob. Ugh.
It becomes a prune, is basically what it does. And then what about prunes? Like, why don't we save prunes?
I know.
I kind of know why we don't save prunes. Although raisins have the same, Raisin Bran has the same effect on me. But, okay. Do we have another one?
Yes, we have. Oh, I have a lot. Okay. So the terms fruit and vegetable are actually misleading as categories. It's not a fruit or a vegetable, in fact. One term is a culinary term, and the other is a botanical term, which is why sometimes tomatoes can fall into both a culinary or a botanical. So which is which? Which is fruit and vegetable? Which is the culinary term, and which is the botanical term?
I think the culinary term is vegetable.
Yes.
Okay. And here's the thing. It's like fruit. The difference between a fruit and a vegetable, from what I understand, is fruit has the seeds on the inside. Vegetables have the seeds on the outside.
It actually depends on how they grow.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because that's why a tomato is a fruit, because the seeds are on the inside.
Because it grows on a vine, like fruits, and vegetables for some reason, because I don't know. I don't quite.
The way I say the difference between a fruit and a vegetable is a fruit is sweet and a vegetable is not.
Exactly. I know. It's like, which one would I rather eat?
Right. Like strawberries, I think, are a vegetable. They're not a fruit because the seeds are on the outside.
Well,
I consider that a fruit.
Let me get to that. Okay, because the next question is actually similar to this, okay? So a true berry is a fruit that stems from one flower. This is botanically speaking. A true berry is a fruit that stems from one flower with one ovary and typically has several seeds. Some common berries that we consider berries are not actually berries, including strawberries and one other. Another common berry. Yes. Well, that we call berry, but it's not actually
It wouldn't be... Okay, I'm going with blackberry.
No.
Raspberry?
Yes.
Okay.
Not actually
I wasn't sure. I'll tell you why. Because I'm not a fan of raspberry preserves because there's too many seeds in them and they never get them out. And the seeds are on the outside.
I weirdly like the seeds, like strawberry seeds and raspberry. I know people go nuts, but I think I have a weird thing with my teeth where like if I do have a seed in there, it's very satisfying to get it out.
Oh,
I
get
hate
it out.
having it in there, but getting it out
drives
is
me
one of the most
insane.
satisfying. Like I'll work at it because I know how good getting out a seed is from your teeth. I'm just like,
Yes.
oh, there's a seed. That's really annoying. I can't wait to get it out because it feels so good.
Nothing worse than when you have a seed stuck in your tooth and you have no way of getting to it. And you have to wait until you get home or whatever. And you know it's going to be a while. And it's just sitting there working on you. You can't even concentrate on what you're doing because you're like, that seed. If I could dig in there and get that seed out. Yeah, absolutely. I get that. Okay.
So
All right, next one.
Back to the berries. With this official definition, tomatoes fall into this group. So tomatoes are a berry. Also pomegranates, kiwis, and this common yellow fruit. Also a berry.
Would it be a banana?
It is a banana.
How about that? A banana berry.
A banana is a berry.
I got to tell you, tomato as a berry makes more sense to me than anything else. But it's one big berry. That's one big berry.
It really does. So speaking of bananas, they also contain a high amount of this nutrient, which puts it toward the top of the list of most radioactive fruits.
Potassium?
Yes. I didn't know potassium was radioactive.
I didn't either till now.
I know, but it's such a small percentage. Like nobody can eat as many bananas as it would be to be radioactive and possibly gain superpowers.
I'm missing all my.
Oh, we should be doing doo-doos.
Yeah, I could be. I could have that. Or the other one. Okay.
All right. So another which was named first, the kiwi fruit or the kiwi bird?
Interesting. I'm going with the bird.
Yes, the bird was named first and the fruit was named after the bird because of its appearance. When you look at a kiwi and when you look at a kiwi bird, it has the brown outside, the brown fuzzy outside, and it's a small little circular thing.
How about that? Look at me.
Okay, so a popular game featuring fruit started as a Celtic New Year's tradition as a way to determine one's potential mate. So this is a popular game featuring fruit.
Oh, the dating game. It's a date?
Mm-mm. Fruit is the main part of this game. It's a game that's played sometimes on Halloween.
Oh, bobbing for apples?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dating game. I'm an idiot.
No, it's hard with the context because you're like a New Year's tradition and you're picking your mate.
Yeah.
With apples, like bobbing out of like you pick your mate based on, well, I met your grandfather because he bobbed 3 apples that night at Charlie Dixon's little soiree he had in his barn.
Who cares if his teeth stick out and look like a white picket fence? When he could snatch those apples.
But I knew that with a mouth like that, I'd have a very happy marriage. Okay, so next, this is the last one. Actually, this is just a fun fact.
The guy could floss with a fence picket, but go ahead.
This is a fun fact. This isn't really a question. But apples, because I found this out and I wanted to share it, apples are assumed to be the forbidden fruit of the Garden of Eden, but they are never mentioned in the Bible.
Wait, what?
It's never mentioned that it's an apple. It just says fruit.
Well, who gave apple the bad name?
I know. Illustrators who also made Adam and Eve white, probably.
You know what it is? The guy who decided they was reading the Bible. What fruit do I hate? It's apples. And now that's I went to Catholic school.
And it was always an apple, right? Yeah.
It was always an apple. Even like I was watching the show Lucifer, and they were talking about and in the show Lucifer, Eve came back to life, the original female, and the reason we knew it was Eve, she went to the bar and ordered an appletini.
Oh God.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go on that would make you think that was an apple. How about that?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
I love that kind of stuff that like it's not mentioned in the Bible, but we always assume it to be fact. And there are a lot of things like that. I'm trying to think like the idea of Lilith. She's never mentioned in the traditional Christian Bible, but she was supposed to be Adam's first wife before Eve, and then she was like rebellious, and so she went off and did her own thing. That's why the Lilith Fair is named after her.
You know,
Yeah.
This is so funny. that I'm getting all my whatever biblical information from the show Lucifer, because when he was on the show, she was talking about Lilith or something like that, and now it makes sense. How about that? That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's the big fun for today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope
you know
had
what?
fun with
I gotta write that. We need a thing for big fun. We need a bumper.
Stinger, yeah.
Yeah, we need a stinger for big fun. I'll have to definitely work on that one.
Well, we have a lot of podcasters in our audience. So if any podcasters are interested.
There you go.
If you'd like to be a stinger, if you'd like to be a voice like our lovely Jason Bryant, find us a way to bring in big fun.
Big fun. All right. You know what we do need to do? We do need to get to some Winning Wednesdays because we got 2 weeks worth.
Winning Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, Winning Wednesday.
All right. I scrolled way back to last week. And Ingrid down 2 pounds, a new first number.
A new first number. Ooh.
Second number.
Oh,
second number. Wait a minute. Am I wrong? First number.
First number. Wow.
New first number. That
new
is
first
something.
number. That's amazing.
That gets a. Also.
My own doo-doo is so like underwhelming after the horns.
It was because I moved the volume down.
Erica says, 4 for 4 days of my Move 30 Minutes for 30 Days self-challenge. That's awesome, Erica. Congratulations.
Stephanie says, I was able to start eating fruit again and still lose weight. I think eating it instead of white flour products and eating it with other foods helped. You know what? I think you're right.
Yes. You know what? I've been trying to get more veggies in, and in my head, I'm like, okay, I need to get more veggies in. And it's always like, as soon as I say that, I picture going to the store, buying a bunch of vegetables, chopping them up, being annoyed at having to chop up vegetables, cooking them, and having them be like, meh. But the way Stephanie's talking about it, eating it with other food, that's honestly what I've been doing lately with vegetables is when we order out, it's like, okay, can I get a salad? Can I add vegetables to my taco, stuff like that? I've just been finding little ways to get it in. I bought a jar of salsa and I add that here and there to things to be like, okay, I know it's just a tablespoon of vegetables, but it's better than nothing.
So I went to Taco Bell and I'm trying to figure out a way to eat healthier Taco Bell because, it's not that bad. So I get the Power Bowl and I say no rice, extra lettuce and black beans, please.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. And it's really, really good.
Yeah, Power Bowls are awesome.
I do like that. Patricia says, got a 4-mile walk in this morning before it was too hot and humid. Also down 2 pounds.
Teresa says 4 days left of P90X. Nice. And spoiler alert, because we're 2 weeks behind, she did finish that challenge.
She did finish, yes. Brenda says 4 days in a row of our water aerobics workout.
Claire says 29 days, 16-8 IF. That means she's doing intermittent fasting, 16 hours of fasting, and 8 hours of an open eating window. And she's lost 17 pounds in 5 weeks, feeling more in control of what I'm eating and less stressed about food in general. That's so great, Claire. We're so excited for you.
And Monica says, I've been steady with my exercise, and instead of worrying about breaking my streak, I allow myself to take a break for a day to heal my ailing knees. Back at it today.
Yes. Oh, so nice. That's the thing with streaks of exercise and why I worry. Like, I don't really want to do a challenge with exercise because I don't want anybody to push them. Because I know I really hurt my hip pretty bad a few weeks ago, and I had to take it super easy on the yoga. So I still did it daily, but there were days where like I didn't use my left hip for that. So
yesterday, I tweaked my back getting out of bed.
Oh.
Sitting up, I sat up and I stood up too fast, and I just got that thing where it's like, oh. And then so what I did was I immediately used the TENS unit, got some heat on it.
Yeah.
Took a shower, and so it's twitchy right now. So in other words, there's not that I make crazy like moves, but like no sudden moves, like no jumping up, no, I'm very, very careful in my movement right now, trying to get it to, so it doesn't go out for 5 weeks like it normally does. So, all right. So that's that one. So we got all the way to there. Let's see. Scrolling.
Yes, we have yesterday's Winning Wednesdays. And the first comment on that is Teresa showing off her P90X calendar all crossed off. By the way, Teresa, I've never seen anybody finish P90X before. And I've watched because people got really into P90X and they would post Facebook statuses and I would watch them like really excited days 1 through like 11. Then you don't see them posting as much. You maybe see day 23 if you're lucky. But like I've never seen somebody actually get all the way, all 90 of those days. I assume it's 90 days in a row, right? That's the 90, right? Or is it 90 minutes? I don't know.
I would say it looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like 90.
Yeah, I would imagine where the 90 is.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's great.
Also, before Stephanie in the chat says, I miss my juicer. I like green juice so much more than eating veggies, but we haven't bought one in a new place yet. You know what? I can't drink green juice. There's something about green juice. I just can't get it to my lips. And the other thing, too, is it's the thing is whether you drink the nutrients and then what about the fiber? You're kind of throwing away the fiber, which is really good for cleaning things out. And I don't know. So,
well, see, that's the thing. So I've had those thoughts before where I'm like, oh, but I don't get the fiber. But then I think to myself, okay, but am I going to go get this vegetable just for the fiber? Probably not. So I should just eat the like half-assed vegetable smoothie over here.
Yeah, I would love to be able to add more vegetables into like, I'm a big broccoli fan. You know, I'll eat that just raw. I like it raw, and cucumbers and stuff like that. But for some reason, I cut them up, and it sits there and goes bad, and it infuriates me.
I need my vegetables cooked. I hate that I just can't bite into a raw vegetable and enjoy it in any way. If anybody's seen The Office, I know John doesn't like The Office very much, but if you've seen The Office and you know the episode where Kevin really wants to eat broccoli as his New Year resolution, he wants to eat more vegetables, and they just hand him this big stalk of broccoli and he doesn't know how to eat it, and he just looks like this kid crying, like eating this broccoli. That's me with raw vegetables. Like, please don't give me raw vegetables. I'll just sit there and cry and wish that they were cooked, and I will let my tears fall on them until the vegetables soak up the tears and that they are just a little bit soupier than just raw vegetables.
Yeah, and Stephanie says it's about the right amount of lemon and apple, you know, to kind of sweet. It's not the flavor, it's the color. For some reason, I can't drink green. There
is a Slim and Trim veggie smoothie at Smoothie King, which is my drive-through smoothie place. That is green, but it's like a welcoming green, like a kiwi green, where you're like, okay, I know that's green. I know it has spinach in there, some kale, whatever, but okay, I also know that it's going to have delicious mangoes and, you know, some apple pear juice.
I might have to try where I just close my eyes. I can't.
Yeah.
It just, I look at that and I'm like, I'm not drinking that. It's the color.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually that guy. I mean, you know me, I eat roadkill. I don't know. It's just, it's my cross to bear.
I had a friend who didn't eat purple foods. Like, she just hated. She's like, it's just not natural. And I'm like, but it is. And we got a veggie pizza one night and she found out it had eggplant on it. You couldn't even see the purple, but she was like, no. And I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope she's grown out of it. It was like 20 years ago, so I'm sure she has.
Back to the Winning Wednesdays. Yeah. Ingrid says, I decided not to eat a piece of cake. Instead, I ate Jell-O.
Ooh. Jell-O's a good choice.
Yes, it is.
Claire, IF streak is now 36 days. I'm 22 pounds down over 6 weeks and still moving regularly, still reveling in the joy of not constantly thinking of food all the time. I know that's why I love IF so much, is that I don't have to think about it all the time. She says, it's sometimes even quiet in my mind. I'm as shocked as you are. Yes. Yeah.
See?
Uh-huh. Originally, I got into IF because I read about it in a book about ADHD. And they were like, honestly, it will keep your mind clear. It will keep you sharp. When you don't have that constant nagging all the time of, should I eat? Am I actually hungry? But I'm on a diet. I want to lose weight. If you don't have that 24 hours a day, pretty much, yeah, you can actually focus on a lot more things.
Yeah, I mean, 22 pounds, that's a lot. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic in 6 weeks. Congratulations.
Yeah. Tanya says, on day 2 of IF, and I have swam every day this week.
And Dave says, down 1 pound from last week. I'm just making better choices. That's all we want. That's all we can do.
There you go. And then Monica says, I'm still in the fight.
Yes. I like it. Zoe says, over 17,000 steps today, an hour-long walk and an hour Zumba class helped. Wow. Feeling good today and rolling with it. That's fantastic, Zoe.
Yeah, that's great. It's you know what? With this whole pandemic thing, it's really been hard to get out and get into a routine. I know there's a lot of people that, that I see on social media that are gym. They go to the gym regularly. I want to call them gym rats, but that's I don't want to call them a gym rat. Although they go to the gym regularly and they enjoy it, hence the term. But they're really feeling the effects of not being able to do that.
Yeah.
Not being able to get, they're trying to do other things, but they really miss it. So
I feel the effects of not doing yoga if I let it lapse, or I do a very minimal yoga, or I work all day and then forget to do it, and then I do like very small yoga at the end of the day. But I feel it. Like if I don't do yoga, my mind just will not shut up sometimes.
I had to stop the yoga for the simple fact that it was really tearing my knees up. So
Yeah.
I'm doing more of a chair kind of stretching thing and working, with resistance, where you push, like if you push with this hand and you resist with this hand, and then you push with this hand and resist with this hand.
So for anybody listening to the audio, John is taking his fist and pushing it against his other hand, kind of like a big clap together of the fist, and then pushing them together.
And you count like to 5 as you move across. You kind of do that. So it seems to be, I'll tell you what, the first couple times I did it, I was surprisingly out of breath. But the whole thing of the amount of weight that's on my knees and trying to hold poses and stuff like that, it was really, I couldn't even walk. And I was like, so I said, well, I'm going to take a couple days off and see how I feel. And I felt a lot better. So I was like, okay, going to have to make an adjustment here because I do need to be able to walk.
There's a really interesting exercise that is called TDAPP, and I don't remember what it stands for. And I'll put a link to some information about that in the show notes for anyone who's interested. This is Future Emily. I am writing the show notes now for this, and I mention this as TDAPP. It's actually pronounced T-TAPP. T-TAPP. I don't know why I was talking about TDAPP here, but just so you know, I talk about TDAPP a little bit more, but it's actually TTAPP, and the link will be in the show notes. So back to the original show. But what TDAPP is just a series of poses, but not like yoga poses. But there's one stance in TDAPP that engages every single muscle. Well, I mean, a majority of muscles in your body, and you stand in a certain way, and it's super uncomfortable. I'm trying to remember, like, you stand with your legs straight, but you also think about pushing the muscles outward. You stick your butt out and you stick your chest out, and you're kind of standing in like this weird, like crane almost position. But because it contracts all these different muscle groups, it's actually like an amazing way to just stand and give yourself exercise. So I'll try and find that for people, because now that I talk about it, I'm like, I feel like I need links to explain this better, but it's called TDAPP. It didn't really catch on as much. It kind of caught on in the Trim Healthy Mama dieting community that I was part of years ago, because it was super easy exercise to do. Like very resistance, basically, your own body's resistance. And I like exercises like that. That's why I like yoga. It's your own body's resistance, not somebody yelling at you to lift a weight. And it's like, why? This is stupid weight.
No one's screaming at you, making you throw up in a trash can.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
good.
None
of that.
All right, well, let's get to the weigh-in, although Emily did drop
I know,
the
we
ball.
talked about it. Like,
Let's get into my weigh-in.
Yeah, let's get into John's weigh-in.
Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for the moment you have all been waiting for. It's time for the weigh-in.
Okay, so
I'll go first because I already talked about it before. I am smack dab, 0 pounds lost, 0 pounds gained. Maintenance mode is kind of awesome, or my scale is broken. I don't know.
All right. And this week, I have a 2-week total of 5 pounds down.
Yay! Wow.
Yeah, it's not bad. 2.5 pounds a week. I'll take it.
That's fantastic. No, you shouldn't just take it. You should be really proud of yourself. That's great.
I am. It's there was no effort in it. In other words, I'm losing it without thinking about losing it. One of the things, getting on the scale every day used to make me say, oh, I need to be down this. And if I got on the scale every day, I would do things that would basically sabotage. I would say, okay, I'm not going to eat today.
Yeah.
And then what that would do is it would fuel my binge eating, because if you don't eat every day or you don't, what happens is you end up working in, and the next thing you know, you're binge eating. So not having binge issues. Now, like I said, Father's Day, I'm
not even sorry.
I'm not even, there we go. I'm not even sorry.
I'm not even sorry.
No, I'm not. But that was like I'm going to go eat, and then I'm not worried about it. A binge eat is where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, all right, I'm just going to get something to eat. And you go out and you get like a bag of food, where I said before, where you feel like you should order 2 drinks because there's so much food. You don't want the people to think it's all for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's a typical overeater, binge eater thing to do. You go and you order things in pairs. So in other words, let's say if I was going to get I won't get 3 double cheeseburgers. I'll get 4. So it sounds like someone's getting 2, the other person's getting 2. So then if I order fries, I got to order 2 fries. And then if I'm going to order an apple pie, I got to order 2 of them. So it looks like there's 2 people going to eat.
There's so much to unpack there, John.
Right? Because this is what we do, because we're worried about what people...
Yeah, that's a big thing for me, is worried about what people thought. And that's an eating trigger for me, too.
Yeah, you're a big person, you're in the line, and you're going to go get something. So you order it on almost double. So they're like, is he going to eat that all that? Is that all for him? And then so it's either you order 2 medium drinks or no drinks. That way they don't know.
See?
Like, you don't get a large drink. You get 2 mediums.
I had to start telling myself a lot that people don't care about me as much as I think they do, or they don't think about me as much as I think they do, because I'm overanalyzing everything I'm doing. And I realize that most people right now have crazy anxiety, so they're not paying attention to anything I'm doing. They're worried about themselves most likely, but I think the same way. And I'm like, oh, they're going to judge me. Like, I would think about buying groceries, and the groceries that I was buying and thinking, well, like when almost similarly, when you're a teenager and you buy condoms or tampons if you're a woman, and you try to buy a bunch of other stuff so that when they're ringing it out, they're not like specifically honing in on the fact that, oh my gosh, you're a woman and you actually menstruate. Oh my gosh, that's so gross. Or, oh, you're a human and you want to have sexual intercourse in a safe way. Nobody thinks about us that much. In fact, I feel like if I were at CVS, I'd be like, good for you. Safety first. You show that person a good time with your condoms that you bought like a responsible adult. Good for you.
Condoms and breath mints. I still don't want to use them. The best comedy.
Honestly, we have a kid, so yeah, those are like top of our list. So we know we have kids. Like, no, we use them now.
The best comedy thing I've ever heard. Taylor Thomason, she says, trying to get a guy to wear a condom is like trying to get a kid to put on a raincoat over his Halloween costume. He's like, no, you're going to ruin, no one will see it. You're ruining everything. She does it so much better than me. But anyhow.
Oh, actually, you know what's funny? I was actually, this is off topic. I saw a podcast and their sponsor were vibrators. And the way that she started selling them is, look, we know that you're home with your kids 24/7 at this point. Let me tell you that this vibrator is kid-friendly. And I was like, that's not how you want to put that? Nope.
How is it
she meant it as in like, it's quiet. They won't hear anything. But the fact that she said it was kid-friendly, I'm like, nope. No. That's an edit point. Who's your editor? Kid-friendly vibes.
Oh, yes. I'll tell you what. One of the only social media sites that I could go on is TikTok.
I know, you love TikTok so much, and every time I sign on, I'm like, nope, John is perfectly fine in this world, but this is like trying to get me to go to a pool party with everyone I've ever met in college, and they're all doing like crazy stuff.
I even did a lip sync. We used to, on She Podcast, there was a thank you for being a friend, the Golden Girls thing, and a gentleman sings it. He's really soulful.
Andrew Gold. He did the original. I don't know if it was very soulful, but Andrew Gold wrote the song.
It's on YouTube. It's a YouTube video. It's a black guy he sings it. Hang on a second. Do I have this in here?
This is like the end of the show. We got to like call this segment the end of the show where we have all the leftovers. The leftovers. This is the leftovers.
This is the leftovers. This is the
leftovers of our brain that we wanted to tell each other like for 2 weeks. And now we get a chance to, because now we're done talking about our diets and our weigh-ins. And now it's like, okay, John, let's talk about the fun things of the internet.
The leftovers. But anyhow, so I did it, and it took me like, I don't know, 10 or 12 times to get the lip syncing right. But after I got done, I was pretty proud of it, to be honest with you.
That's awesome.
To me, it's just being a performer. It's like using something for like a Family Guy voice, like I love Stewie. Mm-hmm. So being able to do Stewie.
Do you do voices? I normally don't hear a lot of John voices.
My imitations aren't really that good. Like, my Donald Trump isn't good. Like when I try to do Donald Trump.
Like, he doesn't do a good impression of himself. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If I see a bad impression of Donald Trump, I won't know.
Yeah, there's like sometimes I'll try. I break into Andrew Dice Clay a lot.
I could see that because the accent works with it like, really well.
So I was out at you get that accent in, or it was over at the gym, and I was like, you true with that? Are you true with that?
You know, it's funny, actually.
If you're true with that, you should wipe it down. Did you ever hear about the pandemic? The pandemic, you're going to have the viruses on that.
I always pictured, because when you're listening to podcast hosts, you don't know what they look like. I always pictured your friend Deuce on the Brand X podcast to basically be Andrew Dice Clay, but like 10 years older. I don't know why. It was just something about his voice. It had that like gravelly, like, and in a good way, Deuce. I know you listen, like in a very good way. I was going to say, he's going to hear this. I loved it. I loved his voice, and it was very Andrew Dice Clay sometimes. But my favorite thing, I still have it in my head sometimes, is when he would prove you wrong about something, and you would just be sitting there, and he would go, see? Yeah. I loved his see so much.
See? Or when I would screw up, he always had that sound thing where it says, say that one more time.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I want that for my soundboard. I have to call him and see if I can get that from him. If you
guys want to listen to John, go listen to the Brand X podcast. Be prepared. If you're not used to John's humor. This show is like 20% of John's humor. The clean part. Cleanish.
John's recording. John's got a new co-host for the Bullhorn podcast that starts. We're going to record tomorrow. We're doing our first episode tomorrow. Oh my God. Strap in, because we've got some topics. And he's another guy who's my age and everything. I think we'll get along swimmingly, so we'll see what happens. And he's into podcasting, so when you lose your love of podcasting, it's hard to do because it's a lot of work. All right, let's wrap up the leftovers. Put them in the fridge.
All right. Oh, I like that. Okay.
Thank you very much for listening. We love that you come here and hang out with us, and hopefully our stories and our, what would you say?
Foibles.
Yes, that. I hope that helps, and I hope you know that we're in the struggle with you. We're in the fight. And if you want to join us in our Facebook group, just go to hate28.com/Facebook and join us. We have a lot of fun in there. There's people. The group has taken over the group, and we love it.
I know. We're pushing 300 members in our Facebook group. It's so awesome to see it grow. And it's grown, 1-2 new people a week, and it's been fantastic. So.
I got to get in there. See, one of the reasons I don't go into the group and post as much as I really want to is because I feel like I'm going to give away show content.
Oh, I feel like I'm going to monopolize the conversation. Like I have the prompts that go up and it's my name. And I'm like, well, I already technically posted today, even though it's like a weekly prompt that I scheduled in advance. And so I think about things like that too. I never want to like monopolize the group, even though it's our group.
I like to go in and comment on everybody else's stuff, but I don't really want to go in there because I feel like I'm going to give away stuff that I would use on the show. But no, I'm going to start doing more of it. I do, because I go to the group and I read, and a lot of times, especially in these days with everything with social media as a dumpster fire, our group is like the fire extinguisher for the social media dumpster fire. So go check it out if you're listening. All right, Emily, thank you so much for being Emily.
Well, thanks for being John and participating in Big Fun today.
Yes, love Big Fun.
I like Big Fun too. It's giving me flashbacks to Classy Little Podcast, actually.
I love that. Okay, here's the big question. How's Mark's back? Because I never asked.
Okay. So his back's getting better. He's getting stronger. His parents have a hot tub because his dad and his sister have terrible backs. So they have a hot tub that we go in pretty much most mornings at this point.
There we go. All right.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm glad Mark is on the mend, and we will see you next week.
Later, waiters.